Is the book worth reading? Well, I was about halfway through and dropped the book in the bathtub. I absolutely think it's worth reading. If you read in the bathtub like I do, just be prepared to buy extra copies of books sometimes. Here's the book. No Nonsense Spirituality, All the Tools, No Faith Required by Brittany L. Hartley. The genre here would be memoir meets self-help meets spiritual guidance kind of a thing. It's Brittany's story, her memoir of growing up in a very fundamentalist Mormon upbringing. And when she's 16, she has sex, gets kicked out of her home. Through her life, she gets a master's degree in theology, and sort of her journey to being an atheist and really pulling on tools from many religions and acknowledging how those work and what that can mean for humanity. I would say avoid this book if you believe in only one God and you're looking for something that does not make you think, because this book will definitely make you think. It will challenge your religious beliefs if you have them. So, avoid this book if you're not looking to be challenged in that way. That would definitely be something not to read. This book is a really good read for people who enjoy like a philosophical look at religion, spirituality, and are also like exploring. I definitely think that this is a book for people that are deconstructing their faith, that are looking to get out of really high demand religions. The pacing of this book overall, I was probably pretty good. I myself can be a really slow reader. This took me probably 6 months to read, but I was going at like a snail's pace. I would read a few pages and just like let it sit and marinate. But yeah, I think the pacing was pretty good. I did feel like towards the end, maybe the last 2 chapters, I was a little bit like, okay, come on. But I'm still glad that I really read those, because where she went with especially the last chapter, I was like, oh, okay, this was worth it. Her trajectory towards nihilism and really finding that, without God, without this belief, what matters? And she really went down like nothing matters, and really came to a place of that nothingness. And she was able to find a sort of beauty within really living in the moment, and then also being like, wait a minute, if nothing matters, then what matters to me? Like, what matters to me, and how do I make a life that I want to wake up to? How do I make a life that is something that I'm excited by? And I really appreciate that. There's something in that that's really invigorating. Some of the things also really had me chuckling in this book were Britt has a sense of humor, and I really appreciated that she kind of mentioned, she's like, women in our current society, especially moms, sort of have a lot of spiritual practices already baked into their day-to-day, and it's not always acknowledged. She really pokes at, like, there's these men, oftentimes white men, that are the great philosophers and thinkers who, fought in their bathtub while their sisters and their wives and stuff made all of their food and took care of the house and did all these things so that the men could just sit there and ponder all these great questions of existence. But like in her own experience as a mom, it's like she cultivated like patience by being up at 3 a.m. in the morning with a child that is vomiting up against the walls and pooping and shitting everywhere. She doesn't say it like that. And she has to stay awake and tend to this child of hers and take care of them and nurture them even when she doesn't want to. Like, if that's not a spiritual practice, what the hell is? So I like that she kind of points that out, that oftentimes women's approaches and stuff are overlooked and contributions are maybe not as acknowledged as they should be. Now, if we can maybe free ourselves of these 4 fears away a little bit, or at least face them, It's going to help our life quite a bit. The fear of death, the fear of freedom. The fear of freedom is a tricky one because I think everyone says that we want to be free, but do you really? What that could look like for like someone like myself who was raised in religion, it means that I have freedom and agency to do pretty much whatever I want. And does that mean I want to go out and rape and pillage? No. But it might mean that I don't have like the constraints or the structure of like the religion to follow anymore. So it's like I have freedom to build the life in whatever way that I want. And that can be very scary. That can be really daunting. Something to think about. Fear of isolation, something that religions have down really well is that sense of community. And being isolated and alone is probably one of the things I know for myself in my own life that really kept me denying really who I am, definitely when it comes to my sexuality. I mean, also the fear of meaninglessness. Everyone wants to have a life that has meaning to it. And I think that we can have that, even if I mean, I myself, I definitely believe that there's more. But when you don't maybe subscribe to like a certain religion, that meaninglessness can be really hard to grapple with. So I really appreciated that she shared those four pieces, and that really was something that resonated with me, as well as many other. There was a lot of little moments throughout the book when I was just like having to ponder it and think about it. It's interesting because she even points out that reference point of Yahweh, and if it is a god of like thunder and things like that, like we actually see that within the writings. Like we see, I think it's in the Psalms when David is talking about God being a god of a thunderous voice and all these things, like literally referencing things that would refer to a god of storms. I find that fascinating. It was a little nugget in there that really stood out to me, and it made me think and ponder a little bit about religion, lore, and literalism. I think within how I was raised too. So it had me thinking in a good way. And she said, at best, the founding fathers would have been Christian deists, which in our current society would be very similar almost to an atheist. There was just something about it, though, for myself. I got to the last chapter and I was reading it and I was like, oh, right. Like, the point of this is spirituality. She's not against spirituality. She's actually very much like saying like there is spiritual practices and ways to practice spirituality, even as a atheist, even as an agnostic, even like wherever you're at, whatever level you're at, there are ways to practice, to have a spiritual practice to get the benefits of that. And for some reason, like I got to the end and I was like, why am I surprised by this? Where is she her conclusion? And I was, and it was good. And it makes me excited for myself with my own spiritual journey and my own spiritual practices. The rating that I would give this book is 3.5 stars out of 5. The reason for that is I think that the writing could have used an editor. Like I think Brittany did a really good job of bringing everything together. I think an editor would have elevated it and brought it up just to it would have been that much stronger and that much easier to read and really pulled the reader in. So 3.5 stars. That said, I would recommend this book. Definitely recommend it. Will I reread it? No, but I definitely will reference it. Yeah. So if you have read this or have read anything that is like this, drop a comment. Let's connect. I'm always looking for a good read. And thanks for watching. I hope that you have the day or month or year or life that you deserve.